Welcome to Gamma Radio with your host, Gil Mancha. This is my chronological discussion of the strongest one there is, The Incredible Hulk. Disclaimer, I will be actively getting and collecting issues as we go, and I'm trying to only cover issues that I have a physical copy of or are in a collected edition. I'm going to try to stray away from digital because I love physical media, but the Marvel Unlimited app would be a great way to keep up with the podcast. We'll of course start with his original self-titled comic. There's a few others, some TV shows, movies, and even some video games we can discuss. And trust me, I'd love to discuss those games down the line. Be sure to hit the follow button on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or preferred platform to get episodes as soon as they drop. While you're there, please leave a review so the show can be recommended to other comic book fans. In today's episode, we get our first issue that has only one story in The Incredible Hulk Volume 1, Issue 6, The Incredible Hulk vs. the Metal Master. This issue was released on January 3rd, 1963. Links will be in the podcast notes. Let's take a look back at what else was happening that day in history.
The Duck can't cover, sports fans. He's hulking out.
The best-selling single in the US was Telstar by the Tornadoes, and in the UK was Bachelor Boy / The Next Time by Cliff Richards and the Shadows. The top of the box office was Taras Bulba. Children and teens were watching shows like Captain Kangaroo, Noggin the Nog, The Many Loves of Dobby Gillis, and The Bugs Bunny Show. If you're a child, you're likely to be playing with toys like Matchbox toy cars, the Troll Doll, Etch-a-Sketch, and the Tammy Doll. It's interesting that the top song in the UK last issue became the top song a few months later when this one came out. Since we already covered that song, well, actually in episode 3, and you're following along, you already know all about that song. Bachelor Boy the Next Time by Cliff Richard and the Shadows is unique because it was a massive double-A side single. That means it's actually two songs. Bachelor Boy was a collaboration between Cliff Richard and Bruce Welch from the Shadows. It brings a youthful, upbeat pop tone. In many markets, it became a bigger hit of the two. Bachelor Boy peaked at number 1 on the following charts in 1963. Denmark's Track Listen, Netherlands' Single Top 100, South Africa's SARMD, and Sweden's TOI Top. In 95, the hit got a new lease of life by being used by Bachelor Beans in Ireland, which I believe sold canned beans. The Next Time was penned by Buddy Kaye and Philip Springer and was released on November 30th, 1962. This is a melodic ballad, and both are backed by the Shadows' distinctive guitar work. The song was featured in the popular musical film Summer Holiday, which starred Cliff Richard. The Next Time peaked at number 1 on the following charts in 62 and 63. India, Ireland's IRMA, Israel, UK's NME, and UK's single OCC. Telstar is purely instrumental, so it makes for decent background music, but I wouldn't call it especially memorable. Bachelor Boy tells a story where the dad tells him he's a bachelor boy and how that's how he should stay. He lives by this but knows that one day he'll have a family. The Next Time is someone who's broken-hearted about a breakup, being told that next time he's in a relationship he'll forget all about the current heartbreak. He questions it, stating that he's still in love with the previous girl. Of the 3 songs, my favorite is probably Bachelor Boy with its upbeat, defiant tone. Taras Bulba is a 1962 American historical adventure drama film based on Nikolai Golga's novel of the same name, starring Tony Curtis and Yul Brynner. IMDb states, in the 16th century Ukraine, the Polish overlords and Ukrainian Cossacks fight for control of the land, but frequent Turkish invasions force them to unite against a common Turkish foe. Despite being the top movie, it had a budget of $6 million and only got a box office of $3.4 million, which includes rentals. The score was composed by Franz Waxman, and the music was nominated for an Oscar in Music Score, substantially original at the 35th Academy Awards, but lost to Maurice Jarre and his work in Lawrence of Arabia. It is currently free to watch on Tubi and with MGM subscription on MGM Plus, YouTube, Bobo TV, Sling TV, Prime Video, YouTube TV, and Philo. You can buy it on Fandango at Home, Apple TV, and Google TV. Captain Kangaroo is a 1955 American children's series that aired weekday mornings on CBS for 29 years for 29 seasons from 55 to 84. It involves stories, skits, vaudeville acts, songs, games, and other educational activities for children. This show was before my time, but one fun thing that I read was that on the very first show of every month, the captain would have a birthday cake for all the children with birthdays of that month. That sort of inclusion can mean a lot to kids, especially if you aren't fortunate enough to get that in real life. I don't see an official way to watch the show today, but you can find episodes on YouTube. We already covered Noggin the Nog in a previous episode, so since you're keeping up with the podcast, you already know all about that. The Many Loves of Dobby Gillis, or simply Dobby Gillis, is a 1959 sitcom that aired for 4 seasons. It was about a teenager that strived for beautiful women, fancy cars, and money. The series was adapted from the Dobby Gillis short stories written by Max Schulman that were originally published in magazines like Cosmopolitan and the Saturday Evening Post. One of the major supporting characters is played by Bob Denver, or Gilligan from Gilligan's Island. Fun fact, DC Comics published a Many Loves of Dobby Gillis comic book that ran for 26 issues from 1960 to 1964, featuring artwork by Bob Oskner. Stories from this comic book series were later reprinted, with updates to the artwork and lettering to remove any references to Dobby Gillis, by DC as a short-lived series titled Windy and Willie in 1969. The show is free to watch on Tubi, Pluto TV, Sling TV, and Plex. It's available with subscription add-on through Fubo TV, Prime Video, and you can buy episodes on YouTube. The Bugs Bunny Show is a 1960s American animated anthology television series hosted by the titular Bugs Bunny that is mainly composed of theatrical Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies cartoons released by the Warner Brothers between 1948 and 1969. The original run was from October 11th, 1960 to September 2nd, 2000. It's almost impossible to explain the cultural significance that Bugs Bunny has had. My generation had Looney Tunes in various incarnations, including Lunatics Unleashed and Baby Looney Tunes, and even the Space Jam movies. Will the next generation have similar media? In the age of streaming, maybe, but maybe not to the scale that we had in the past. You can watch it via subscription on Prime Video, but it is unavailable to watch in North America. Aside from that, there's tons of content on YouTube, even from what seemed to be official Warner Brothers YouTube pages. We've already covered Matchbox toy cars and the Etch-a-Sketch in previous episodes, so since you're keeping up with the podcast, you already know all about them. The troll doll is a type of plastic doll with furry, combed-up hair depicting a troll, also known as a dam doll, after their creator, Danish woodcutter Thomas Dam. The inspiration came from trolls in old Scandinavian folklore, and the toys are also known as good luck trolls. There's a famous troll doll scene in The Simpsons Season 6, Episode 7, Bart's Girlfriend, where Bart plays with a troll doll in church while infatuated with Jessica Lovejoy, singing a parody about being a troll man, much to Marge's disapproval of its awful hair, before he's distracted by Jessica. The irony being that the troll doll has tall blue hair much like herself. The Tammy doll is a 1962 popular 12-inch American teenage fashion doll marketed as the wholesome girl next door to compete with Barbie, featuring realistic everyday outfits, accessories, and a whole family. Brother Ted, Sister Pepper, and parents, to build a relatable world. Known as the doll you love to dress, she came with extensive wardrobes for school, sports, and parties, becoming a beloved vintage collectible with a significant legacy influencing other dolls like the UK's Cindy. If you're familiar with either songs or top movie, let me know. On the Spotify app, there is now a comment section. You can do it there or on social media. That's a taste of what the world was like when Incredible Hulk issue 6 was released.
Ow, I hurt myself changing this tire.
I'm reading this thanks to Marvel Epic Collection, The Incredible Hulk Volume 1, Man or Monster, but it's also available via Marvel Masterworks Incredible Hulk Volume 1, Mighty Marvel Masterworks The Incredible Hulk Volume 1, The Green Goliath, The Incredible Hulk Omnibus Volume 1, and honestly several others, but those are probably the best to get physically. If you prefer a black and white style, then the Essential series Incredible Hulk Volume 1 works, but that series has ended, so you'll have to go to another where this one ends if you want to keep reading Hulk comics. The story was written and edited by Stan Lee, penciled by Steve Ditko, inked by Dick Ayers, lettered by Artie Semick, and the colorist is uncredited. The cover shows a bald man floating on a platform in mid-air, shooting a beam from his head to the middle of liquefied metal. The metal is coming off of a tank and being melted and reshaped into a prison for the Hulk. Waving his fists in the air, the bald man says, "Even your limitless strength cannot save you from me, Hulk. All the metal on Earth is mine to command." For I am the Metal Master. There's army men in the background near the tank, one saying, if the Hulk can't handle the Metal Master, it could mean the end of the human race. At the bottom of the cover is a red square that reads, a full-length, epic super thriller. Unfortunately, there's no About This Issue section on the Marvel Unlimited app for this issue. After the break, we'll summarize the issue. What it do, guys? Mandrame here, and if you like board games, especially deck building games, you should check out at Team_Thunder on YouTube. There we have unboxings and games of Legendary, a Marvel deck building game, the DC deck building game, the Transformers deck building game, and many more. That's where you can find VODs for this, Accelerated Visions, a Spider-Man 2099 podcast, and Water Damage, an Aquaman podcast where you can directly leave a comment and we can discuss the issues.
No, not the Hulk. Not now.
The Incredible Hulk versus the Metal Master. There's a full page of the Metal Master and the Hulk several feet apart. The Hulk can't reach the Metal Master, who's using his magnetic powers to throw various metal items at the Hulk, including gears and other vehicle parts. Hulk's trying to punch some of the debris away, but he's simultaneously being wrapped by a metal bar as if it were a snake wrapping itself around his arm and leg. What happens when a living being whose incredible might be almost beyond measure meets a menace from another world, a menace whose powers cannot be halted by mere brute strength? At an army missile base somewhere in the Great Southwest, the countdown is halted while the base commander awaits for Dr. Banner to appear. At the base of the missile, an army man says, launch minus 15 minutes. And holding. From the inside of the base, someone says, we can't start without Banner. He's the brains behind this entire space probe. Where in Thunder Nation is he? General Thunderbolt Ross, never a man to mince words, expresses his feelings in no uncertain terms. Lucky for him, he's a civilian. If he were in my division, I'd have his hide. I'd slap him behind bars. Betty puts a hand over her mouth. Oh, Dad, what if something's happened to Bruce? Looking away from the two, Rick thinks, strange. He's had plenty of time to change back to the Hulk and reach there by now. She continues, the Hulk has been seen in this area. What if he got Bruce? Rick responds in thought. If only I could tell her that Bruce Banner is the Hulk, but I wouldn't dare. He'd skin me alive. At that moment, not far away, the object of everyone's concern crouches angrily behind a boulder under the blazing desert sun. I gotta change back to Bruce Banner, but I can't. He puts his back to the boulder. A Hulk blasted infiltrate on maneuvers between me and my underground labs. I can't reach the cave without them seeing me and discovering my secret hiding place. He turns to look at the nearby tanks, but I can't stay here any longer. If I don't change back to Banner soon, it may be too late. The longer I remain the Hulk, the harder it is to change back. Using the might of his powerful legs, he makes a leap into the air. I gotta take a chance. Maybe I can leap toward the hidden cave fast enough and low enough, and make it there before their radar spots me. Several jets fly by and he redirects his momentum back to the boulder. Blast it. It's no good. Too many jets. I almost crashed into him, hiding behind the boulder again. They're coming this way. I can't stay here, but there's no place to hide. He raises his fists. They gotta stay back. Why don't they keep away? I don't want to hurt anyone, but if they come any closer, if they attack me, it'll be too bad. But at that crucial split second, just before the troops confront the desperate Hulk, an ear-splitting whine fills the hot desert air. Whee! The army stops in their place. One soldier says, it's an emergency alert. Another says, condition red. A third adds, it means back to the base, on the double. Within minutes, the last dull rumble of tanks fades into the distance, and a bewildered Hulk safely enters a dank cave which leads to his hidden lair. Lucky for them, the alarm sounded. Now I don't have to bash any heads together. Minutes later, a giant form stands in front of one of Earth's most awesome ray machines. I hate having to become that weakling Banner all the time. He presses the button and the beam hits him. Arg! He changes back. Each time I change, it becomes more painful. He stands up and looks at himself. He has larger muscles than normal. What happened? I'm Bruce Banner again, but I'm stronger, more powerful. He walks to the controls with one hand over his forehead. Must have manipulated the controls differently, but it didn't last. Strength is fading. Growing weak again. Must rest. Each change leaves me weaker every time. How much longer can I endure it? Slumping in front of his electronic TV viewer, the anguished scientist switches the set on. And he sees a shot of Betty and the General. Something's wrong at the base. General Ross. Betty. They look terrified. On the screen we see the missile he was supposed to be present for having been melted. He braces himself with the arms of the chair. Oh no, it's impossible. The space probe rocket. My project. It's melting. It's dissolving in front of my eyes. Bewildered, the trembling viewer switches the sound portion of his amazing set and hears. Ross asks, who's that? Rick asks, where'd he come from? Standing in a wide stance in front of him with his arms crossed, he says, I am the Metal Master. I come from the planet Astra, many galaxies away. Lightning shoots from his forehead. I melted your puny rocket device through the power of my brain to show you how invincible I am. There's a cube of metal, and in the center is a circle filled with smaller circles. I am the master of all forms of metal, for all metal is made up of atoms. Zoom in on a group of atoms, and one of the lightning bolts strikes one of the atoms. And, with the power of my brain, I can command and control each and every metallic atom. The atoms move to two sides. On one side, the atoms are clumped together, and the cube melts. On the other side, the atoms are spread apart, and as a result, the cube starts turning into dust. On Astra, our sculptors make magnificent statues of metal, forming them, shaping them by their mental commands alone. But of all Astrans, only I was judged criminal. Only I was sentenced to external exile, for I wanted to use my great power in order to conquer all. He leaves his planet alone in a magenta ship. For time beyond measure, I have roamed the galaxies, seeking a planet which was rich in resources, rich in metal. A planet which I could rule. In his ship, he stares at the planet Earth with North America in center view. Back to the cross-armed Metal Master standing in front of the army. And now, I have found such a world. Earth shall be mine. Ross points at him with army men rushing in that direction. Someone grab him, he's nutty as a fruitcake. So, I see that further demonstration is needed. Well, very well. Behold, energy starts to shoot from his forehead. One of the soldiers' gun and helmet starts to levitate. Hey, my helmet's falling off my head. In contrast, another soldier says, mine's melting, but it's impossible. His and another soldier's weapons also melt. Arms no longer crossed, the Metal Master is facing a tank, bathing it in rays which cause it to melt. And now, if you find it difficult to believe that I am the one who destroyed your rocket device, see what I shall do to that tank. It completely melts down, with a metal tendril lifting up from the pile. One soldier says, it's dwindling away into nothing. General Ross says, he didn't even touch it, but that ray, coming from his head. Another soldier says, if we're not dreaming, he's the single most powerful force on Earth. A single tendril then grows much longer, loosely wrapping itself around the group. From off-screen, the Metal Master says, but wait, you have seen but a small sample of my talent. Ross says, the melted metal is turning into long bands of steel, moving like living things. Betty adds, they're encircling us, trapping us inside. From outside the trap, the Metal Master says, and now hear my ultimatum, for I begin to tire of these childish feats. You will surrender this entire base to me immediately, and the Earth itself must accept me as a supreme ruler within 24 hours. He turns his back to the group and uses metal to create a square platform. Now I shall leave you for a few minutes while you discuss my terms, and realize how helpless you are before me. Unseen, the prisoners quietly sneak out. Ross thinks, if that clown thinks he'll get away with this, I'll alert the Missile Hunter Squadron before he gets 50 yards away. The Metal Master levitates and starts standing on the platform. Someone says, look, he turned that piece of steel platform into a metal flying carpet. Bah, those parlor tricks don't impress Thunderbolt Ross. From behind Ross, 3 rockets soar upward. There go my Hunter rockets. They'll bring him down no matter what powers he claims he has. The Metal Master turns around, and still they do not believe. He shoots a beam from his head at one of the missiles. Disintegrate. It turns around in midair. I'll redirect the remaining rockets to return to the base. The rocket shoots toward the group. Ross tackles Rick for safety. Take cover, Rick says. The rocket backtracked in midair. That guy really is unbeatable. Ross shakes a fist to the Metal Master and Rick runs in the opposite direction. There's a chance, just a slim chance, that there is someone who can stop the Metal Master. If I can just get to the Hulk in time. Breathless from his heart-pounding run, Rick reaches the lair of the Hulk to find, covering his face, Hulk tells him, stay back, I know all about it. Saw it on the screen, I'm changing. It's revealed the Hulk's head is that of Bruce Banner, he says. There, now the Hulk will... What are you staring at, brat? Shocked, Rick points at Hulk. Your face, your body is the Hulk's, but your face. Hulk looks in a handheld mirror in angered shock. Something went wrong. I got Banner's milk-soft face. You can't go out like that. It would give your identity away. Hulk walks into another room that has what looks like Hulk's head on a platform. Stop whining. I know what to do. Banner made a ton of plaster casts and molds and models of his face and mine in order to study them. He pulls the Hulk mask over his Banner face. I'll just put one on now, like this. What about the machines? Why didn't it change your face? Hulk adjusts the mask. Who cares about that? That's for the bookworm Banner to worry about. I've got something more important to handle. Hulk leaves the cave. He readies his leap. Now get back out of my way. I can't fly like a blasted human torch, but these muscles in my legs ain't just for show. He pushes his legs down. All I gotta do is spring up, then he's able to launch himself into the air, and just keep going. Remembering the direction of the Metal Master has flown off in, the Hulk soars through the air until he sees, as the Hulk is landing, figured you'd be somewhere around a metal scrap pile. What? Hulk points at the Metal Master. Don't look so surprised, Peanut. Everyone on Earth isn't a puny weakling. The Metal Master turns his head to the side and emits energy from his forehead. Your brute strength does not impress me, not when all the metal in the universe is mine to command. Several large pieces of metal start to fly at the Hulk. There, I shall overwhelm you with an avalanche of heavy, plummeting iron and steel objects until you whimper helplessly for mercy. Hulk raises his fists to the object. Mister, the Hulk ain't the whimpering kind. You are more powerful than I thought, so I shall fuse a ton of metal together and form an unbreakable cage to drop over you. The metal objects start to liquefy and form a cage. You're out of your mind. Nothing's unbreakable to the Hulk. Hulk extends his arms and a leg out and shatters the cage. For long minutes, the uncanny battle continues as the Metal Master keeps the rampaging Hulk at bay with a barrage of heavy flying objects, wearing down his mighty foe slowly but surely until the Hulk is lifting a large piece of metal, poised to throw it at the Metal Master, who says, "Wait, this is folly. Why do we battle each other this way when we might be allies? My metal power and your brute strength would be the most irresistible force in the galaxy." While holding the object in both hands, Hulk says, "Huh? Team up with you? You're nuts. Hey, why not? I don't owe nothing to the human race. They've been hounding me, hunting me, treating me like an animal." He lowers one hand to make a fist. "This would be my chance to pay 'em all back. We could... Nah, forget it. I ain't buying it. The Hulk needs nobody. I can do what I gotta do without you. I'm the Hulk. Do you hear? The Hulk." But at that split second, while his foe's guard is down, the Metal Master strikes again, swiftly, surely, and so be it then. A beam out of the Metal Master's head seems to hit the Hulk's head, causing him to drop the metal object. Hulk is knocked unconscious, and the Metal Master gets back on his metal platform, making his getaway. He was right. We do not need each other, for I am stronger. I have vanquished him. Now, on all of Earth, there are none who can defy me. I am supreme. Minutes later, a detachment of recon troops stumble across the stunned form of the Hulk. One soldier approaches with a hand. "Looks like we're on the right track. The Metal Master must have been in this vicinity. Only he could have beaten the Hulk. Hey, what gives? He's got some kind of mask on." At that moment, the Hulk begins to regain consciousness. As the mask is being pulled, the Hulk says, "What? No. No!" The soldier says, "Gotta move fast." While he's still weak and dazed, why would the Hulk wear a mask? Has he another identity? Hulk thinks, if they find out who I really am, it's the end for me. But when the mask is removed, the soldier says, "This is crazy. He's got the same face underneath." Another soldier says, "Better take him to the HQ. It's too much for us." And so, from inside the army base, a soldier on the comm says to Ross, "Word from Recon Unit C, sir. They caught the Hulk." "Great. Once we get him out of the way, we can concentrate on that blasted Metal Master," Betty says, and still no word about Bruce Banner. What could have happened to him? From outside, we see Hulk is being flown in, with 4 aircraft holding him in the air. One army man calls from the top of the building, "Easy, men. General Ross has had this special stone building prepared for the Hulk for months. We don't want to muff it now."
Gamma wave!
To muff something means to make a mistake in doing or handling something, to botch.
Gamma tsunami!
From the ground, a soldier says, "Good thing the Hulk is still dazed. If only he'll stay that way for another few minutes." They get the Hulk inside the building. The soldier from the top of the building says, "That's it. We got him. He'll never escape again. This is the end of the Hulk." But there is one person who is not happy about the capture of Earth's mightiest creature. Rick says to Ross, "General, you're making a mistake. The Hulk's the only one who might be able to stop the Metal Master. You've got to let me talk to him." "Talk all you want, son, but he's staying where he is." Nervously, the teenager approaches the Hulk's escape-proof cell. Rick talks to Hulk through the window. "It's me, Rick. Are you okay?" "You, the one who betrayed me." Hulk tries to grab Rick through the window, but he jumps back to dodge it. "Only you knew about that mask. You must have told him. But you didn't know the ray would wear off and my real face would return, did you? I can't trust you no more. Can't trust nobody. If I ever get my hands on you, you rotten squealer." "No, Hulk, no. I didn't tell." Rick turns his back with tears in his eyes as Hulk makes a fist at him. "You're lying to me, but you'll never fool me again. I'll get out of here somehow, and when I do..." Hulk goes to another wall and bashes it. "And when I do, when I break out of here, I'll have my revenge. On everybody. Do you hear? On everybody. And I will get out. I will, no matter how long it takes, I'll get out." And so we take our leave of the most powerful creature on Earth for a short time as he pounds his unbelievably powerful fists against a stone wall, a wall which slowly, ever so slowly, begins to crumble. I'll get out. But what of Rick Jones? Hurt, bewildered, he turns to Thunderbolt Ross. General, where do I go to enlist in the army? Nowhere yet, son. You're only 16. You're too young. But I'm tired of just being a nothing. I want to be where the action is. He puts a hand on the teen's shoulder. I know how you feel, my boy, but if you really want to serve your country, the best thing you can do is stay in school. America needs trained men in every field, even in the army. And then, when you're old enough, Rick walks away defiantly. Cool it, General. I get the message. And slowly, inexorably, fate draws her little web closer and closer, for in that moment, the Metal Master destroys oil wells in the heart of the Near East. Multiple metal structures are dropping downward. A witness says, "Behold, it is the Metal Master." Then speeds on to topple construction in Africa, affecting shipping in the Mediterranean, and uproot bridges in the heart of Europe. The Metal Master uses his powers on the metal structure of the bridge. Only the Metal Master could do all this. And, before long, the entire Earth has seen awesome demonstrations of seemingly endless power of the menace from another galaxy. Not a human breathes on Earth who does not tremble at his name. A voice says, "The Metal Master." And, at this point, we return to a disheartened Rick Jones, who's walking down the street with other teens. He says, "Heck, the whole world's in trouble, and there's nothing a cat my age can do about it." A friend puts his hand on Rick's back. "Why not take the General's advice, Rick, and just stick to our education? That's what the rest of us are doing." Rick looks down and thinks, Sure, it's okay for him to talk, but he was never the Hulk's partner. How can I go back to being an ordinary kid after something like that? Two teen boys walk towards Rick. One with a sweater vest says, "Look, there's Rick Jones." Another with a green sweater says, "Hey, Ricko, come here. We got something to show you." They both grab Rick by the arm. Green continues, "Wait till you see what the gang's been doing. You'll flip, son." Still disheartened, Rick responds, "Sorry, Daddy-O, I ain't in a flippin' mood." Vest says, "Come on, Sourpuss, what have you got to lose?" And so Rick accompanies his friends and finds a purple-shirted friend tinkering on a large device. Green points and says, "We all chipped in to buy this ham radio. Isn't it cool?" Vest puts a hand on Rick's shoulder. "We can talk to other hams all over the country." Rick puts a hand on the radio, smiling. "Hey, what do you know?" Rick snaps his finger. "That's it. The idea I've been looking for. It's perfect. They can't stop us on account of our age. We can help the army, the police, everybody." From off-screen, one of the friends asks, "What do you mean, Rick?" "From viewpoint of outside the house," Rick answers. "With a bunch of cats like us, all over the country, keeping in touch by radio, we can have the greatest setup in the world. We'll form a club, something like the Teen Brigade, and be ready to help out whenever we're needed." One of the friends says, "Hey, the Teen Brigade. It sounds neat." Another adds, "Reet, I'll buy it."
Gamma wave!
Reet is jazz slang for good or fantastic.
Gamma tsunami!
And so, the Teen Brigade is born, a band of loyal teenagers of whom we will shortly hear more. But now, back to the Hulk. Minute after minute, hour after hour, his mighty, seemingly tireless fists pound against the stone wall, chipping away bit by bit, until, at last, he's able to punch a hole through it, and make the hole large enough to crawl out of. "I'm free!" And, not far away, Ross is consoling Betty, with one hand over her shoulder. "Strange, we still haven't been able to locate Bruce Banner." Crying, Betty says, "Oh, Dad, if anything's happened to Bruce, I never realized how much he meant to me." Suddenly, the door opens with an officer addressing Ross. "General, the Hulk, he's escaped." "What? You mean he broke out of those thick concrete walls?" "It can't be. It can't." Enraged, Ross shakes his fists in the air. First that blasted Metal Master, then Banner is missing, and now the Hulk is free again? Of all the blankety-blink? Shocked, Betty asks, "Oh, Dad, what if the Hulk has somehow captured Bruce?" But what would Betty Ross say if she could see the Hulk at this moment, back in his hidden lair, as his massive body is bathed by Bruce Banner's awesome ray? It's over. Back to Bruce. He leans against the wall for support. The ray worked all right this time, but I've been using it too often. I'm too weak. He puts his back to the wall. Can hardly stand. Everything's spinning round. He slumps down to the floor. Can't black out now. Must stay awake. Got to beat the Metal Master. Earth's in danger. Can't give up. At that very moment, Rick is storming past the room. So he doesn't want me around anymore. So he doesn't need me. Okay, so who cares? I'll get my duds together and clear out, once and for all. Weakly, Bruce reaches out with a shaky hand. Rick, help me." Suddenly, seeing the man who had once saved his life, seeing how helpless he is, the teenager forgets his anger, his hurt, and aids Bruce in getting up and walking. "Golly, Doc, you're in real bad shape. What happened?" "My gamma ray. Used it too often. Weak. Can't stand. Overdose of gamma rays. Can't take it." Rick gets Bruce to a bed. Bruce thanks him. "Good old Rick. Loyal Rick. Always here when I need you." Rick thinks. What a fool I was. I should have known that Bruce Banner isn't always responsible for what the Hulk says or does. Rick gets Bruce his glasses and a cup of coffee. Doc, I've got to get you to a hospital. No time. I've thought of a way to beat the Metal Master, but need help. Can't do it alone. Well, gee, what can... Rick snaps and gives a thumbs up. Wait a sec, I know. You just tell me what you need, Doc, and my Teen Brigade will go into action. Teen Brigade? A short time later, after being sure that Bruce Banner is resting comfortably, Rick is explaining his plan to a room of teams at the ham radio house. Here's the pitch, gang. You've all heard of Dr. Bruce Banner. Well, he's got an angle on how to beat the Metal Master, but it's up to us to get him the equipment he needs. Now here's what we want. And so, eagerly, enthusiastically, with all the energy of a typical American teenager, the newly formed Teen Brigade races into action. One says, "What are we waiting for?" Another says, "Last one's a rotten egg." A third says, "Gangway!" North, south, east, and west, into every corner of the United States, the Teen Brigade radio their messages, and parts and supplies are pouring in from all over, in a desperate struggle to stop the Metal Master. The teen manning the radio says, "Just reached Pittsburgh. Our condensers are on the way." One of two teens carrying a large box says, "Here's the tubes and circuits Rick asked for, from Seattle." Another teen on the phone says, "Blueprints are on the way, over and out." And, once more, alone and unsuspected, a slender figure stands in front of the gamma-ray machine. Can't afford to rest any longer. It's now or never. His form is bathed in light. It's working. And now the Hulk again. Ah, I can feel the power surge through my body. I'm strong again. I'm the Hulk again. And so our gripping tale gathers momentum as it races towards its inevitable climax. For the Metal Master is still at large, and Earth has still found no way to cope with his dire menace. From a skyscraper, someone says, "The people are growing panicky. Something must be done soon, but what?" Another person says, "We've tried every weapon, every scheme. Nothing can stop the Metal Master." And, as those in authority ponder the problem hopelessly, the Metal Master continues to make a mockery of our power, our defenses. The Metal Master flies past a train and uses his powers to reform its tracks into loops. How easy it is for me to hopelessly snarl their transportation by twisting the metal tracks of their railroads. No nation fails to feel the Metal Master's sting. A Soviet general orders, "Attention, comrades. Launch missiles. The Metal Master must be destroyed." 5 missiles are launched skyward, and when they reach the Metal Master, he uses his powers. More missiles? Will the helpless fools never learn? He starts splitting them in half using his powers. How frustrated they must be if they are watching this on their telescopic viewers. He splits another. At a mere mental command from me, each missile separates and passes harmlessly around me. He turns his head. That roar behind me. Ah, so now they send manned aircraft to battle me. But all I need to do is streak through each one, melting it as I touch it. He flies through 3 craft. By merely melting the engine section of each plane, I permit the helpless pilots to bail out and float to safety. 6 pilots are shown to parachute to safety. To the point of view from the atmosphere, he continues, "It is not that I am merciful, but I shall want every earthling alive so that there will be many to serve me. And now I shall simply lose myself in a bank of clouds, for I grow weary of this conflict. It is like battling children. Zoom out to the point of view of the entire planet. The next time I appear I shall be through toying with these puny humans. When they next see me, I shall have come to take possession of all mankind. But in an old warehouse in the southwest, some of those puny humans are plotting and planning and working to defeat the unsuspecting alien. There's a teen running toward a group of teens outside the warehouse. One of the group says, "We brought all the equipment Rick asked for. He's locked inside now." Another asks, "What do you suppose he's doing with it? And where's Dr. Banner?" Dr. Banner, too, is inside, but not in the form that the Teen Brigade might expect. Rick says to the Hulk, "It's a good thing you remember most of Bruce Banner's scientific knowledge, Hulk. Shut up and let me think, brat." He uses a rag to clean up his hands. "There, the machine is finished. Now open that door and get out of my way." Rick rushes to the door. "You bet, Hulk." Holding what looks like a giant laser, even for one the size of the Jade Giant, Hulk walks through the door. "Now to find that flying creep," one of the teens says. Look, it's the Hulk," a second teen asks. "But how did he get in there?" a third says. "And what was he carrying? It looked like some sort of gun." The first teen rubs the back of his head. "If he's looking for the Metal Master, he's wasting his time. That gun won't do any good." Minutes later, a Teen Brigade lookout sees. From atop a roof, one teen points while another looks through binoculars. It's him. It's the Metal Master, headed due north-northwest. Within seconds, a message is relayed to Teen Brigade radio posts throughout the area. Roger, I'll get that scoop to Rick Jones and the double. Over and out. And finally, a teen gets the message and informs the strongest one there is. Hulk, the Metal Master has been sighted approaching Washington, D.C. It's about time. He puts the machine on his back and takes a stance. Now stand back, you brat. I got me a little traveling to do. He leaps into the air with the machine in tow. The Metal Master must be figuring on taking over the government now. But the Hulk's got a few other plans for him. And on the ground below, carloads of excited teenagers converge on the nation's capital. A car of teens drives behind a military jeep. One of the teens says, "Come on, we don't want to miss any of this." A second asks, "Well, what happened to Bruce Banner, Rick?" Rick answers, "He must have built that gun for the Hulk. Now we'll see some action." From the ground, Hulk sees the Metal Master above and aims a device. There he is. "Alright, Flyboy, come down to Earth before I blast you down with this gizmo." This is the Hulk talking. From the air above, the Metal Master shakes a fist at the Hulk. The Hulk, "Good. Now I shall destroy you once and for all with your own weapon." Energy starts to emit from his forehead. No matter how powerful that gun is, the metal of which it is made is subject to my every command. The beam reaches the device and the Hulk. And so, farewell, Hulk, for it shall now explode right in your arm. Nothing having occurred, Hulk continues to hold the gun. Defiantly, Hulk tells him, "You failed. You can't control this hunk of metal. See? Nothing happened to it, and nothing's gonna happen." The Metal Master continues trying to change the gun. He says, "That's impossible. There is no type of metal I cannot control. I'll get closer to it." Hulk thinks, That's what I want. Come real close." Drawing closer, the Metal Master says, "Now!" He shoots another beam. Nothing is happening. "But it can't be. It can't. I'm using all the mental power at my command. It has to explode. I command it to." He grimaces, getting frustrated. "I'll get closer still. The mental energy I'm generating is enough to level an entire city. It must explode." The Hulk points the gun right at him. "I knew it. You ain't all you're cracked up to be. You're a phony. A weak, brainless, ugly phony. Do you hear me? I say you're just a big zero." The Metal Master starts sweating as he keeps trying. "You must explode. Explode! Explode!" Meanwhile, unaware of what is taking place, General Ross still paces angrily in his room. "We've got to find Banner. He's the most brilliant weapons expert in the country. He's got to come up with something to beat the Metal Master." Betty gets off the phone. "I've called every hospital, even the morgue." A soldier comes to the door. "General, a report's just in from headquarters. The Hulk and the Metal Master are face to face on the outskirts of Washington, D.C. "Don't just stand there, man. Have my jet prepared for flight." Ross puts his cap on and rushes out the door. "I've got to reach the scene. Got to take charge. They're probably trying to decide which one of them will take over this nation." Betty puts on her coat. "Dad, be careful." After a record-breaking cross-country jet flight, Thunderbolt Ross takes command of the assembled missile-striking force and, from a jeep leading tanks and missile launchers, he says, "All units advance. This is the showdown." Meanwhile, for long, silent minutes, the Metal Master has hovered over the Hulk, unable to believe that he has failed at last, until Hulk says, "All right, I let you stay there and tremble long enough. Now it's my turn. Hey, no. One last chance. I'll strike him with the steel plate I've been standing on. At least, I can still control that." As the Metal Master starts falling to the ground, Hulk leaps up to grab him. "Gotcha! You didn't think that little piece of tin could hurt me, did you?" Hulk holds up the Metal Master by the shirt with one hand and readies his other fist. The Metal Master puts up his hands defensively. "That fist, that arm, don't strike me. I'll do anything, but don't hit me." "All right, coward, I'll give you a chance. Make everything the way it was before you messed up all the metal on Earth. I mean now." Tremblingly, the Metal Master concentrates as he summons up all of his vast, awesome power, sending boundless waves of pure thought to every part of the planet. Rays emit from his forehead as Hulk warns him, and no tricks, or else. Impelled by his uncontrollable fear of the Incredible Hulk, an alien Metal Master does as he is ordered, and within minutes, all the damage that has been done is rectified, in the most dazzling display of mental prowess ever seen on Earth. The twirled train tracks straighten and bridges and structures fix themselves. And then, before anyone can make a move, the Hulk releases the beaten alien, and silently watches as the Metal Master rockets away from Earth, never again to return, from Earth below in space. Someone says, "He's gone. We've licked him. Earth is safe." Back on Earth, one of the teens says, "You did it, Hulk. You beat the Metal Master, but how? What kind of metal was that?" "Anybody could have made it, except most of you dumb humans always lose your head when something happens. It wasn't any kind of metal at all, just plastic and cardboard. I painted it to look like metal. It was a bluff that paid off." From behind, Rick Jones is seen lifting the gun above his head. "Huh, look, the whole thing's a phony. It's all hollow." But the Metal Master never suspected. Hulk rubs the hair of one of the teens. I guess you kids deserve most of the credit. If you hadn't rounded up all that junk I needed to make the gun, it would have been too late. One of the teens says, "Gosh, imagine the Hulk complimenting us. Wowee." Another teen holding a headset says, "Hold on, we've got company coming. The army's moving in." General Ross and his men have finally made it to the scene. There he is, up ahead. "Steady now, men. Proceed with caution." Thanks to the warning, Hulk, with Rick on his back, has leapt away past Ross's view. "Hang on, brat. We're heading home. I got no time for any explaining now." Before General Ross can issue an order, the teen brigade tells him what has taken place, and one of the teens finishes the story. "And that's how it happened, sir. The Hulk beat the Metal Master. He saved the whole Earth." Ross looks away from the teen, smoking a cigar. "Well, I'll be." And so many miles and hours away, Hulk is standing on a familiar platform. Well, here goes nothing again. His body is bathed in light. What happened? I didn't change. I'm still the Hulk. He checks the machine. What did I do wrong? Everything's set right. Everything's connected. He put his face in his hands in despair. Banner always felt that the blasted machine shouldn't be used too much. The gamma rays are too strong, too hard to control. I always hated Banner's weak body. I always wish I could stay as the Hulk. But now, to be the Hulk forever, to always be hunted, feared. While unaware Bruce Banner and the Hulk's plight, Betty Ross continues her seemingly hopeless quest. She talks to a newspaper stand clerk who tells her, "Yeah, lady, Doc Banner used to buy his papers here, but I haven't seen him in weeks." Two teens see Betty walking away. One says to the other, "Look, there's Betty Ross, the general's daughter." The other confirms, "Yeah, she's been asking around for Doc Banner for days. Maybe we better tell Rick." Then, at a teen brigade radio post, one of the teens speaks to the teen manning the radio. "Can you reach Rick, Charlie? I've got a message for him. Was just gonna call him myself. Got some big news from Washington." And, in the Hulk's secret lair, Hulk slumps his shoulders. "Am I gonna stay hidden in this cave all my life?" From some controls in the adjoining room, Rick tells him, "Hulk, great news, you've gotten a pardon, because you defeated the Metal Master." This sparks anger in the Hulk. He raises his fists. "A pardon? Is that the best they can do? I saved the whole blamed planet, and all they can do is pardon me? Miserable, ungrateful humans." He smashes the desk with test tubes on it. "What good is a pardon gonna do me now? It's too late, everything's too late." Rick says, "Hulk, don't, take it easy, Hulk." Hulk raises his fist in the air. "Take it easy." Haha. He says, "Take it easy." He starts punching more Banner's machinery. "I'll show you how I'll take it easy." Mid-swing he starts transforming. "I'll show the whole crummy world." Then he's Bruce again. What? He looks down at his hands. "I'm normal again. I'm Bruce Banner. The ray did work. It just had a delayed reaction." Bruce nearly falls over, but Rick catches him. "Rick, I hope I never have to go through that again. You don't know what it's like. The pain, the anguish." "Sure, Doc, sure. I can imagine. That's what makes you so edgy." Later, after Bruce Banner is rested, Rick once again gets Bruce his glasses and a cup of coffee. "By the way, Doc, I meant to tell you, Betty Ross has been looking for you. She's real worried about you being missing for so long." "Poor kid. I'll go see her right away." And, at Betty's house, the general turns off a TV and shakes his fist in the air. "So they pardoned the Hulk? Of all the lunkhead decisions, can't they see how he tricked him? He's trying to throw us off guard. He's as dangerous as ever." Someone's at the door, and the general answers it. The doorbell, who? "Where in the thunder have you been? We've turned this state upside down searching for you." Bruce is wearing a purple suit, much like the Hulk's trunks. "Sorry, General, I, was feeling under the weather, so I took a few days rest in Bermuda." Betty enters the room and Bruce looks at her. He doesn't pay attention to the general as he continues, "Bermuda. While the whole world totters on the brink, he's resting in Bermuda." Betty also ignores the general, waving her hands up in excitement. "Oh, Bruce! Thank heavens you're all right." "Hello, Betty. I'm sorry I worried you, dear." The general turns his back on the two and mocks the doctor. "I'm sorry I worried you, dear. Bah, how a daughter of mine could ever fall for such a spineless milksop. Sometimes I think she'd be better off mooning over the Hulk. At least he's got a backbone." Bruce and Betty take a walk outside. She says to him, "Bruce, I know there was more to your absence than the fact that you didn't feel well. I have the strangest feeling that there's a connection between you and the Hulk. Why won't you confide in me? Don't I mean enough to you?" "Mean enough?" As the two walk away into the night with Betty hanging on Bruce's shoulder, he says, "I can't tell you any more, Betty, because you mean too much to me. As for the Hulk, let's hope he is gone now, forever." But alas, the hope of Bruce Banner is not to be realized, for the Hulk is destined to live again. But that's another tale. Rick stands alone in Banner's underwater lab, staring and says, "The gamma ray machine. It grows more unpredictable each time it's used. If Doc has to face it again, what will happen next time?" The end. After the break, we'll go over some thoughts and feelings about the issue.
What's happening to me?
My darling boy, my Bruce. Don't be afraid. Scientists aren't supposed to fear evolution.
The concept of the Team Brigade is interesting. Rick Jones is usually just there when things happen. Even in this issue, he existed to help Bruce. He's more of an Alfred than a Robin, so inspiring others to be a network to pass on information and acquire resources is a concept that works well in this age of comics. Will we see it in the next issue? I doubt it, but it worked well for what could have been the final issue. In modern day, it feels too unrealistic, and as far as I'm aware, we don't even see Rick that often currently. Banner's solution of tricking the Metal Master is identical to the one employed in the 1978 Fantastic Four cartoon where Reed Richards tricks Magneto into giving up by painting a wooden gun, which led Magneto to think that his powers were gone. In this comic, however, the Metal Master still has the wherewithal to throw the metal platform at the Hulk, even though it ended up being ineffective. Then, he actually uses his powers to undo what he had done, so he still had powers. It just didn't work on the one thing that the Hulk had against him. Smartly, Hulk waits until the Metal Master was gone before explaining his trick where Reed Richards told Magneto how he did it. Meaning if he were to come back, the same trick won't work again. This issue furthers Biddy's feelings towards Bruce, but also shows that he feels the same way and that General Ross is aware. I'm actually impressed that Bruce didn't admit to Betty that he was the Hulk. He alludes to a secret, but nothing definitive. To this point, really just Rick knows the secret. If this was a current day TV show, he would have confided in someone else or someone else would have accidentally found out. In modern comics, it's widely known that Bruce and Hulk are the same, so he has to hide his human identity when not hulked out. This comic left the lives of the protagonists and the story concludes in a good pseudo-ending, but also leaves room for more in the future. Hopefully we'll see more partial transformations like how Hulk kept Banner's head and Banner kept his strength. Both didn't last, but it's a good way to change things up. If we don't have that, the Team Brigade or the Bruce-Betty relationship, the issue did nothing. It's filler, but in this stage that's pretty much expected, so I can't be upset at that. I think it is interesting that we haven't had too many instances of the Hulk versus Magneto, but this was basically that, and arguably, because of how the stories are told in this age, a more powerful Magneto. Because he's able to basically take over the entire world and undo what he did to the entire world from one location. And I guess, depending on who's the writer, current Magneto of this time could have done the same, maybe not? What do you think? Did you read the comic? Did I get something wrong? If I do and you guys let me know, I'll include a correction section in the next episode and I'll credit the user. Let's continue the discussion on social media and the YouTube VOD. You can find me at MandrameThunder on Twitter and at Team_Thunder on YouTube. If you're looking for another podcast to listen to and you're a Spider-Verse fan, then check out Accelerated Visions, a Spider-Man 2099 podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you can find podcasts. If DC is more your thing and you want to hear about Aquaman, King of the Seven Seas, check out Water Damage, an Aquaman podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you can find podcasts. Be sure to follow those in this podcast to get episodes as soon as they drop. Mandrame out.
What time up mean?